So we're here at Revved Up Cafe and we're joined by Nigel Farage. Hello, Nigel.
Good to be here.
Lots of bikers here. They're very concerned. 1.5 million voters around the UK, many in your constituency where you're standing. We've been speaking to people this morning. You've got a lot of support here. Some people want to know, what's just from the kick-off, what's your view on both the ICE ban for bikes and for cars in the UK?
Well, I've got form on this because as a member of the European Parliament, of course, regulations on motorbikes were coming from Brussels. And so I've met, Motorcycle Action Group, etc., many times over the years. Now, of course, you'd have thought with Brexit, now we're in control, it'd be less of a threat, but it's not. And that's because of the whole net zero agenda that's being pursued. Boris went absolutely full pelt for it. Labour are still on that track. The Tories are now saying, well, we won't do it all tomorrow. We'll wait till the day after. And frankly, the whole thing is about charging us more money. The whole thing is about controlling our life and our behaviours. And in terms of the environment, it makes absolutely almost no difference whatsoever. So look, bikers want the freedom to ride their bikes and pursue their hobby. They should be allowed to do that without interference. I do worry that with a Labour government, which we're going to get, think about ULEZ, think about all the different things that have been done, low traffic neighbourhoods, etc. I suspect for bikers it's going to be difficult under a Starmer government. And so what you're going to need is a voice of opposition standing up and saying, please leave these people alone. I did it when I was an MEP. I'll do it when I'm an MP. And there's one other little aspect of this that perhaps people haven't thought about yet, which is this, that the European Court of Human Rights recently ruled that Switzerland had to obey by its net zero legislation. So this court that I've been complaining about in terms of borders and who stays and who doesn't has actually involved itself in this issue as well. And I'm very clear about it. We should leave the ECHR. So, I think bikers have a right to be concerned, have a right to be worried. And I'm not just standing here because I'm running for election in a few weeks' time. I've got a long history of defending personal freedoms. And in the end, Alan, that's what it's really all about, isn't it? It's about individual choices. It's about people making up their own minds and living their own lives.
So we've got 37 million car drivers as well in Britain, as you know. I've been on when you were doing a show, I've been on that talking about what you've just mentioned, ULEZ, LTNs. Many people are concerned about the lack of openness and scrutiny. From the point of view of net zero, just remind us what Reform is saying, what you're saying about it for if you were to be elected.
Yeah, look, Labour are talking about decarbonising the grid by 2030. Impossible, and would cost a fortune. And of course, who pays? Those at the lowest end in society pay the most percentage of their money on fuel, on heating the house and all cooking, all of those sort of things. The Tories are now saying 2035. What we're saying is the whole net zero needs a complete rethink. We produce less than 1% of the world's CO2. China are building about 80 new coal-fired power stations every single year. And the other point about it is that, of course, I want us to be environmentally friendly as much as we can. The answer to that, above all, is nuclear energy. If you really want low carbon generation of reliable energy, then I think, to me, nuclear would be the right way forward. But either way, I will always stand up for individual liberty against the state. And it's been so bad under the Conservatives. It'll be worse under Labour. But we all have to accept they've won the next election. It's done. It's a question of who's the voice of opposition going to be. And I'm standing up and saying, look, I've got a track record. I fought the European Union. I fought the banks. I fought many other people over the years. And I'll do the same in Parliament.
You finished your last broadcast when you were up with the 7 candidates were there, saying about direct democracy actually in referendums. Yeah. Just a little thought on that, if you would.
Well, it seems to me that actually the Labour and Tory parties are remarkably similar. The more those women had that cat fight in the 2 debates I took, if you actually listen to what they were saying, it wasn't very different at all. And I just get a feeling that the Swiss have got a better model than us. That the Swiss say, right, we're not happy with what Parliament's doing, we're not happy with what government's doing, we the people demand a referendum on a subject and it's legally binding. I think we should have that. What could be more democratic?
And so the final question I've got for you, Nigel, is just you led a campaign to challenge the debanking situation, which was really crucial, and it was meant to go through Parliament. I think it was fully intended to, but this snap election means for some reason it has not. Yeah. That has consequences for everyone in terms of free legal free speech. If you get in, and what would you be doing about that?
Well, I mean, fighting the banks is not just a short-term hobby. It's a full-time career. And the way in which people are not just having bank accounts closed, but the way they're spending money is increasing now being questioned by the banks. If you put 50 quid into Coinbase every month to buy crypto, the banks suddenly try to stop you doing it. So if you think about it, control of your money is the ultimate control in many ways that government can have over you. And no, I'm going to be a champion, not just for banks not using political reasons to close you down, but let's keep cash in the economy. If they get rid of cash, they can control everything we do.
Well, we've invited all the candidates to come and speak to us, and Nigel Farage is the one who's come down to speak to us, come to speak to motorcyclists. I think it's really important that you're doing it. You've obviously got a lot of support in Clacton. Thanks for spending the time coming down.
No, not at all. Keep going. Keep campaigning.